Today is August 27th, and the boys from the Backpocket are here. Decky Cheese, how are we?
Decky Cheese is good, man. We're fired up, ready to get after this episode. You know, Monday, everyone's always like, dude, I hate Mondays. I hate people who say I hate Mondays. Let's get after today. Let's take advantage of this week. I'm just excited. Andy Audio, how we doing, dude?
Good. Meaningful Monday.
I like that.
We're here for you guys, and we always start with an average quality because we're average guys, always looking and seeking opportunities to improve. And right now, most recently, we released this on Instagram and all our social media platforms. The Backpocket podcast is officially Backpocket LLC.
I love it, man.
And what does that mean?
You know what it means? It just means it's the step in the right direction. We took the step in the right direction to start a podcast in February of 2017, not knowing how to record, not knowing what to say, not really knowing what to do. It's the same situation just a year and a half later. Granted, we have a reason for why we're starting it. We want to monetize, but we also, don't know what that end result is, but we love exactly where we're at right now.
You're exactly right. We know that we are no longer making and we're seeking money for ourselves. We are seeking money and investments or sales, however that route may lead us to, but it's going to all be directed towards a single organization. And I think that's really cool. And that's something that we started. This is not a personal fund anymore. This is something going to be directly inputted into a bank account that is titled the Backpocket.
And we actually have a company card now, because before it was just our personal cards. Hands raised on that. The truth is finally out. But you know what? We actually have a company card now. But again, getting to that point is not easy. Finding a bank, business insurance, the stuff people don't talk about. Like, yeah, you can go to LegalZoom and type in what kind of what kind of LLC or company you want to start. But the trials and tribulations of getting that all together is not easy. There's a lot of learning steps, a lot of stepping stones.
Absolutely, and those don't come as easy as you think when you're just going through that process, because sometimes you're just dropping $140 because they ask you to, and you're like, what? Then you put it down and you're like, where did that go? And how do I get that back? Like, I don't know if I want that, but you have to follow the process and just trust it and ask and seek advice from others that have done it before, because they can continue to guide you down the right process, because those early stages are so new for you and I, and it's just like us trying to figure out how to get onto iTunes, just with more of an impactful scale now.
Exactly. It's just another step. But we handle it the same exact way. I don't care if it's just an RSS feed, or I don't care if it's just iTunes. You handle it everything the same way. You handle the highs and the lows with that same not average mindset, but the same attacking mindset. And I think we're doing it. We're on the right path, but it's still an average quality right now. Like, we don't have business insurance. We're registered as an S corp. We need to be a C corp. And our taxes, God knows what's going to happen when tax day runs around. That's going to be some hell.
That's a curveball.
Yeah. And then a bank. So we say we're going to be having a company card, but we haven't registered for a bank. So we got 4 things that are very crucial to the makeup of a company that we have not yet accomplished. But we're
LLC has been filed, and it's sitting. I don't have the camera shot on it right now, but we'll take a picture of it. It's just over on the left, and it's Backpocket LLC. So Deck's picking up the lens right now.
The GoPro here. You think that's good? Yeah, it's a good angle. You think they can see that?
Yeah, it's gonna be very shaky on the YouTube. How you just just like the transition of your arm.
Yeah,
how you went about that.
Yeah, that's my bad, dude.
That's all right.
All right. Think that's looking good now?
I think they can all appreciate it at this point.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean that's the reality.
It goes back to what we preach and how we're gonna continue to move forward. It's the strikes and gutters, the trial and error, the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs. I mean, no matter what an obstacle is presented before us, the obstacle is the way, and we will run through that wall.
And I think that's a great transition to our segment this week. So we have Pitch Queen on. That's her company. She's the Pitch Queen. Her name, what she goes by, is Michelle Weinstein. She's run a company called Fitzy Foods, and it was a health company, or not health company. It was a healthy food company before healthy food was like a fad.
Very trendy at that point. It was not trendy at that point.
Right. Mm-hmm. She went on Shark Tank, gave her pitch. That episode unfortunately never aired, but she is just she's got so much tenacity, dude. And you can see this from the interview. And one thing that she mentioned was how confidence in the face of adversity. When something goes wrong, how do you respond? How do you keep that confidence going in when things aren't, or when you're failing or something happens, you know?
And she was very inspirational in that manner of the message she was trying to push across and how she handled those and how she used those as opportunities for growth. So I think we should talk about some of the segments and some of the time frames where we kind of had those same things, and we chose to sometimes maybe we didn't handle it right the first time, but then we figured it out the second time, or maybe it wasn't the second, but we continued to work our craft.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. We continued to work the craft. We stayed diligent, and overall we gained confidence. And that's something that really entered my like small brain recently when Nick from Stationary Astronaut, that's what these hats are right here, he was like, yeah, I've noticed you guys are gaining some confidence. And I was like, no one's ever told us that before. But when I looked back, I was like, yeah, we have gained some confidence. Like, we're comfortable talking into the mic. We're comfortable, like, coming in with, not much written down to talk about. But we can create it, and we can make it sound good, and we can present it in a way that people are going to be like, oh, yeah, I vibe with that.
I don't think we're always prepared. Don't get me wrong. I don't think we're coming in less prepared by any manner. It's the need to look down at those notes and then come up with the next thought. We have all of those notes, and we use them in a manner to instigate thoughts and to kind of transition ourselves into what we want to talk about, but it's not necessarily reading word for word these questions anymore. And that's what it was. Mm-hmm. These questions that we still create are pivotal for us and the guests because they can get the vibe of what we're trying to put out beforehand. And then now we're not like they're talking. I mean, we've said this already, but it's even to the point where like we're not even looking at these questions to ask the next question. We just know what's in it because we have that feeling of what to move towards next. That's just ingrained in us, and that comes through confidence.
Yeah, and I would even say the formula of our podcast, like when we first started, and maybe we've mentioned this before, but we were so stoked that it wasn't live, and how we could just say whatever we want and be like, oh, we'll cut that, and then we'll paste it back in here, and we'll finagle with it and make this like a production. Mm-hmm. And that took a massive toll on you, and it got to the point where we're 3-4 episodes in. You kind of know the story better than me. And
I'd say, yeah, probably 3 or 4 episodes in, and I was ready to toss in the towel.
Yeah, you were like, dude, this is too much work. This is insane, and there's a lot more to it. But man, that was a tough point. I mean, that was a month and a half in, probably.
Yeah, it was probably coming up to the round of maybe just after spring break. We had just done the really cool one with Joey Tats. And that whole experience was awesome. The one with Dr. Pritchard, but it was like, what are we doing? What are we getting out of this? I'm putting in all this time, and I have to edit it, and it doesn't feel like it's making an impact. And I was looking very short term, but it was really questioning what was going through. Why are we doing this? And I had a conversation with you, and Matt Heron was there. I think Mark was there. A few of the guys, our close friends, were sitting there, and they were probably annoyed. But you and I were having like a verbal. We were cultivating heat. It was heart to heart. Like I was getting loud. You were defending the back pocket like none other, and I was giving every excuse at that time that I had that seemed like a reasonable like I can't do this because of blah. I can't do this because of X. And I continued to push that note of like I want out. And I can attest this to, like I hold my hat high on. You were like, Andrew, let's continue to do it. I don't know what the answer is to any of these questions you're saying right now. And I apologize that you feel that way, but we need to continue to do this. And I was like, dude, damn. Yeah, you're probably right. Because like you weren't trying to like fix it. You weren't giving me the answers. You weren't showing me the light at the end of the tunnel. And it was just keep moving forward. Like this is something that we need to do. And then I like, okay. And then at the end of that, I was still probably pissed. And I continued to do it. And I honestly at the end of this, we didn't really have a great schedule by the end of the semester, but we continued to do it. Then the summer rolled around, And that's when we started formulating what the Backpocket is today.
Right. And I don't think anyone really was listening to those episodes any more than they were listening to the ones when we first released them, because it was summer and, we hadn't really built a brand at that point to where people knew what we were doing, and we were all over the place in terms of content. And I remember having that conversation, and when you're talking about, the excuses, they were real excuses. They were like, hey, we're juniors in college and we're saying some stuff that, not a lot of people talk about. And I'm worried about my future. I'm worried about the next person that's going to, see this online and not like it or judge me for it.
I was very concerned.
And I'm sitting here like, I didn't think twice about it.
Mm-hmm.
I did not, I didn't really process all of that. I was so in it because I just loved the conversation we were having. I didn't think about the repercussions. And then I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Let's just push it out. Like, it's not, we can change the content. We can change how we're talking. I think that was my main selling point, was like, hey, we don't have to spend all this time editing to make it sound, in quotes, good. We can just say it as fluently as we possibly can, as if it was a live show. I think is kind of how I formatted it. And let's just see how that changes things.
Mm-hmm.
And that changed everything.
Absolutely. And I think another thing that you mentioned was like, are you having fun? Does this make you happy? Is this something you care about? And on all of those, I think I was like, yes. It was just, it was that work, it was that behind that scenes, that type of like just overworking in my head. That's what I viewed as where I wanted out on.
Yeah.
And what you said was perfect. And like, all right, then let's do it. If you have these concerns, let's do it. And then we figured out a way. We made those changes. And I think one thing that's really cool about this whole experience is we've remained a comedy podcast on iTunes, and that's our category. And, excuse me, you and I aren't necessarily the funniest people out there, by no means. But the comedy comes from the humility of making fun of ourselves almost, Like, that's where we consider ourselves comedians.
Because I think that's totally true.
It's that average quality. It's like, hey, we're just ordinary people out here. If we were in the motivational, inspirational life and fitness people or whatever, like, you wouldn't click on us because we're not those experts.
I think we would be funnier if we were a business or like a society in the society and culture section.
That's where more comedy would come.
We would be hilarious in that section. But when you put us in the same light as like Joe Rogan, Theo Von, Dax,
Joey
Diaz, all these like comedians, it's like these guys are just providing real content. I want to say the show, the Backpocket podcast of how it's come together and what it is funny.
Mm-hmm.
It is funny, and I think the more you get to know us, the funnier it is.
That's where the comedy lies. And I think, like, if we were in those categories, people would click on it and they would find us funny in a way that they'd be laughing more at us. That's just my personal belief, because like these people are Declan and Andrew right now are trying to preach to an audience, and that's what our message would come across as to people who are clicking on a market. That's what it's directed towards, right? That's what people in that genre are trying to do. They're preaching. They have a message, and it's like it's a speech almost.
And it's super niche too. We try and niche down, but like, you would go to a fitness podcast to learn how to get better at being fit.
Mm-hmm.
You would go to a entrepreneur how to start a startup podcast if you wanted to start a business. You go to the Backpocket to just better yourself in any different kind of way.
To kind of bring yourself back down and be like, oh, it's not that hard to just find how you want to go about something and just continue to try it.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is where we find our comedic personalities.
Yeah, because when you look back at some of these when you look back at some of the struggles that we've had, like, I laugh now every time looking back on when we tried to screen record a Skype and we hit one wrong button, like F you QuickTime, obviously like the worst app ever to try and record an internet podcast, but one wrong click and it was like the podcast is gone. What do we do?
All of our average qualities, and you can find a common theme. Our marketing interns know the drill on this, is us having a struggle with some type of technology, really, or like social media platform. It's
New.
Something new. That's what our average quality is. It's something new. And now it's gotten to the point where it's a Backpocket LLC. Think about that. We started with like our average quality is our mic. It's a blue microphone. It's white, and it captures the audio of the construction worker 2 blocks down talking about how he wants his lunch break.
You can hear Jeff outside mowing his lawn while you're listening to our podcast. Like, yep, that's the microphone that we have.
Our average quality is our roommates playing NHL in the corner, screaming loud and going nuts, whether it's positive or negative.
When we're in the middle of an interview with a priest.
Exactly. I mean, that's what our average quality was, and we still love those. Like, those come in and out of our lives all the time, but it's gotten to a significant average, like an average quality of creating a company. What?
Yeah, like that is a big deal, and I think people are starting to recognize that too, where it's like, oh yeah, like that is pretty funny. Like, you guys are recording a podcast, and I'm in and out. I see one of your Instagrams a week, but we post every day.
Yeah.
Like we have a brand that we've reinforced for a year, and now it's like, oh wow. I think the LLC tells a lot of other people like, oh, these guys are serious, but to us, it's just another step.
Absolutely. It's so damn cool. And I love that we talk about that. I mean, we are documenting every part of our journey with our marketing interns. If someone were to find us today and listen to this podcast for the very first time, they can see that we're now a company, a Backpocket LLC. And we just talked about our journey in short. But if they want to see every single thing that we did wrong and then try to find a way to figure it out, and it could have been something very simple and it took us like 5 podcasts and we finally told our audience, hey, we figured this out. Every single thing is documented. We are so transparent with our audience. They know everything about us. And I think that's the coolest thing. We are not hiding anything. We're not acting above anyone. We have our cards on the table and we're saying, hey guys, you see these? We have pocket rockets, and our pocket rockets are our work ethic. Find that.
Exactly. Like, I have a super average poker hand and I'm not folding.
You could say that too. Pocket rockets are like one of the best hands. You got 2 aces.
Oh,
but you could say you don't have 9-2, which is the worst hand in poker.
I don't play poker.
Okay,
I'm sorry, but
bad analogy. But exactly,
it's working. We are talking about poker and it's working.
It's working perfectly.
People are picking this up.
Yes, and we're showing our cards, and that's what the thing is. Like, it doesn't matter what our cards are, we're showing them, and we believe that is what draws an audience. That is what people are seeking nowadays, is that true message, whether it doesn't need to be perfect, it doesn't need to be truly inspirational, but what's deeply rooted in it is the inspiration, not necessarily the wordage, but the action behind it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I think you can like turn that too, where I just got off the phone with a good friend, Aaron Beckman, who's getting ready to start his own, passion, take that next step. And he asked me how we started and got to the point where we are. And I'm like, I can talk about this all day because we've talked about it for 60 some episodes.
You guys know how we're doing marketing, how we've done it.
Yeah, and it's as simple as doing it. Like when we boiled down to that conversation I had, it was, dude, we just looked at every opportunity that we had and we were like, okay, let's do it. And we took it one at a time, didn't worry about anything else. And we're still doing the same thing. It's not like we're these accomplished macho man millionaires telling you like, all right, dude, step 1, start a business. Like, no, it's have fun, follow what you want to do, and don't care what anybody else thinks.
Yeah, and go out and ask others how they're doing it, because you can always learn. That's another thing we love, listening and learning. And we could talk about this for hours. Honestly, I think we could. We may have been talking about it too long. And I don't want it to seem like we are braggadocious or arrogant in any sense by talking about ourselves. It's more of the fact that we want our marketing interns to know this is how we've been doing it and how we're going to continue to do it. And that's why our audience continues to grow. That's my belief behind it. I'm not going to say we're perfect. I'm not going to say we're doing it the right way, but we're doing it in a way that we believe is most genuine. And I think our marketing interns are appreciating that.
We're doing it the Backpocket way. And you know what? You guys could do it any way you want. Start your company and say you're doing it that way. And that's all you need to do. The 2 key words, do it.
Do it. And that's what Michelle Weinstein did as well. We had her on. We had a 30-minute interview with her, maybe a little bit longer than that. And it was awesome. We got to hear how she battled the forefront of the Shark Tank. And it didn't go as planned. You'll hear about exactly what happened with it. But she saw that as exactly what our message will continue to be, as an opportunity.
Absolutely. And Matt Herron on the last podcast, which is so great how this is all tying in, he was like, well, if you fail after, well, I don't know if Matt was talking about specifically, but it brought up on the last podcast. It was, you could run something. I said, from the time you're 20 to 30, you can run a company and it fails. Like, does that mean that you failed and that result failed? Like, that happened to Michelle Weinstein. She ran Fitzy Foods for 8 years, built it up, got in Vitamin Shop, Costco, was on Shark Tank, like, did a lot of really, really cool stuff.
And had the self-awareness to say it's time.
It's time.
It's no longer, it's ran its course.
It's ran its course. It's done. And most people probably thought, or not most, but I'm sure some people saw that as a failure.
But she utilized everything from that journey.
And now she's leveraging it into the Pitch Queen, which you'll also hear more about. So enough about her. Or enough about us.
Talking
Sorry.
about her.
Talking about her. Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Get it together, Declan. Whew. Anyways, you guys will love this, man. Enjoy. Looks like it's good to go.
Perfect. Welcome, Michelle Weinstein, to the Backpocket podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Absolutely. So it has been a long road battling to get you on. You are a hot topic in the streets of Instagram. It's just a phenomenal time.
In the streets of Instagram.
Yeah, it's a bloody road down there. I mean, it's just got all kinds of people trying to promote each other, and I think you can agree to this. Like, we're in this really cool era, and like really cool mantra of all these people just trying to promote positivity. Trying to coach each other up, always like commenting on each other's stuff. We're right in the midst of that, and that's really how we found you. So we're super thankful to have you on today.
Yeah, this will be fun.
So we'll lead you in with our first question.
Questions.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll lead you in with our first question, which is, what is your average quality? And as we talked off air, we kind of format in a way that it's something you're trying to improve on every day. You recognize you're not the best at it. You're definitely not the worst. It's your average quality, and it's something where you seek improvement on a day-to-day basis.
So my average quality right now is napping. And I'm trying to nap a little bit more in my life. And every time I lay down for a nap during the day, I don't know if it's like I keep thinking about the podcast or my work and, what guests do I need to get on? But for some reason, I'm really trying hard to try to take naps when I can during the week, which is very difficult. I don't know if you guys ever attempt to do that. I think you both are working right now, so it might be a little hard because I don't think in jobs you have couches where you can nap. But
well, it's funny that you do mention that, because on our previous podcast, the one that was released last week, I talked about how I'm stuck in my preschool years with napping because I work in a job that requires me to work at a house, and then I get into a truck and then I go to the next house, and in between those stops in the truck, I will fall asleep almost every time just catch up on because I'm exhausted. So I'm right there with you. Napping is my average quality.
Yeah, maybe I need to meditate a little bit more and do a little bit more yoga. But anyway, that's what I thought of for today.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. I actually, just before this podcast, I took a nap. I had to wake up at 3:00 this morning. I went to work at 4. I was there till about 4. And then on my way home, just not doing anything for that like 20 minutes, just shut my brain down. So I had to recuperate, 30-minute nap. Now I'm here podcasting, feeling good as ever. So I did the same. Where you're at.
But I didn't fall asleep. I just laid in bed for an hour with my eyes closed.
Oh gosh. See, that's the thing. Like I feel like I just second my head hits the pillow. I think that's one of my like not average qualities, is just being able to just fall right asleep. No problems. No questions asked.
Mhm. Well, let's dive into your story. And one of the first things we want to touch on has been kind of something that you preach on a day-to-day basis. And the quote that we have written down is, I realize that every successful person has many stories of failure to tell. And that's one of the golden nuggets we love to strive and have our guests share that story. So we'd like to ask you, where did that come about, and why is that something that's very important to you?
Well, I guess I haven't met anyone, or like on my podcast, Success Unfiltered, for every single person I've ever interviewed, it's like they haven't gone through some tough times. And about a year and a half ago, I closed my company that I was running for 8 or 9 years. And I thought of it as like this massive failure. I can't believe this happened to me. Like, how did this happen to me? Why me? I don't understand how this happened. Like, I'm super smart. I hustle. I thought I had all the right qualities. Like, what's wrong? And what I realized is, well, that's probably the right path that, happened for me. Because if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And just like, I wouldn't be able to take naps. I wouldn't be able to go and travel the world. I wouldn't be able to do a lot of the things that I think from the outside, people say, wow, that person's like so successful. I want to be like that. And it's like, well, you don't know what's going on in the background. You don't know what that person's been through. So I guess the last year with my podcast is therapeutics, talking about what people had to deal with, the no's that they were told, the rejections they had. For me, the payrolls I couldn't make, the rent I couldn't pay. And those are sometimes the hardest no's, because it's not like I started a company and said, okay, I'm just going to do this for fun. And, in like 8 or 9 years, just close up shop, and sorry, investors, we're going to all lose about 2 million in total. And we'll just call it a day. Like, that's not what you think about when you get into, you're pitching your company, you're raising money, you're spending money. That's not what you think about, is like, oh, well, I'm going to have to like basically bury this company. You basically are. That's like dealing with death, is what I've learned.
Dang, that's crazy.
So,
And I mean, that's a great answer too. And, I think the company you're referring to is Fitzy Foods. Is that correct?
it is.
And
Yes.
one thing that our marketing interns really need to know is you were able to pitch this on a national scale on Shark Tank.
Yes.
Correct? So can you walk us through?
Yeah, I mean,
the whole
I pitched on Shark Tank. I mean, we would be here for like 2 weeks, but the short version is, that's the part that I was like really good at. I started this company. I was on a mission to help people change their lives one meal at a time. I was in the space super early. That's another thing I learned. Like, sometimes you're shit out of luck, basically, because you get in a little too early. And with myself and a few other handful of companies, a lot of us didn't make it, because when you're pitching and getting angel investments versus VC investment, a VC wants to invest in something that's like new, not if you've been around for a while. They're not looking really for like, oh, the guys that have made the mistakes and learn from them, because one mistake can cost you upwards of 100, 200 grand in mistakes. I mean, there's plenty of mistakes that we made that cost that amount of money. So my point being is that, I was on a mission, like, how can you get healthy food into more people's mouths and change, this? I'm sure, like you guys, you don't have a lot of time to cook. You don't have a lot of time to clean. You don't have a lot of time to grocery shop. And it was a new concept. Now it's kind of like, it's normal, right? Well, 10 years ago, it wasn't really normal. Like, why would you go online and buy some food and have it show up on your doorstep in a box? That was kind of weird back then. Now it's very normal. Amazon's helped it make it very normal. So as the times change, this is what happens in different industries. And I was able to work with a retailer called The Vitamin Shop, and that was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And they had over 780 retail stores nationwide. I said, okay, if I can get our prepared meals in there, then it can make eating healthy easy and accessible to the masses. Well, our 10-store test that we had in New Jersey and New York didn't really pan out. In big, massive billion-dollar companies that you're dealing with turtles, they move extremely slow, and definitely you're not the priority. And on food, it's very hard to make money anyway. So they make a lot more money on their supplements. Even though it was a really good turn that the company made, it just still, you have to have the right infrastructure and the right team in place at an executive level at a company like that. And then I tried with Costco. And the thing with Shark Tank, I pitched there, it was like 2014. It was season 4. And it was just too early, So even when you're thinking about the timing of pitching your company to those types of investors, you have to think about where you're at. And with me, I was only maybe about a year and a half in, and I didn't have the sales track record to prove to them that it really was going to be this big thing or be in, stores in New York and New Jersey when we're a San Diego-based company. I vividly remember Damon saying, Michelle, what's the difference between this little prepared meal and the prepared meal downstairs at my little juicery? It was probably some vegan raw meal. But at the end of the day, he might be someone that would spend money to ship product and then pay for the product. But the general population wasn't really spending money. And to ship from California to New York is expensive. And when you ship overnight, it's even more. So we were going after a really top tier percent of a caliber person. And then we were also working with professional sports. And those guys would spend money all day long on anything. But my point is that you have to have enough demand in order to keep growing. And, with the Shark Tank situation, it was just a little too soon.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's awesome. I mean, hindsight is 2020 when you're talking timing wise with pitching to the right person at the right time. And it's awesome that you recognize that. And it wasn't something that you looked in a negative manner. Like, wow, I wasn't able to get any of these sharks to even give me that offer. And now, like, what now?
No, it was the best experience.
Mm-hmm.
That was the best experience ever, because after Shark Tank is when Costco happened. It's when Vitamin Shop happened. I got our products into this hospital chain here in San Diego with like vending machine kiosks. I mean, we did some crazy stuff that most companies would never do. We like really thought outside the box, but all of that was because I went through this experience of Shark Tank. And if you listen to any of the episodes on Success Unfiltered, every month I interview one Shark Tank vet. And you guys don't see what you go through, but the stress to even like go and pitch is ridiculous. They tell you, well, it might get canceled. You might not make it. So, when you actually get here, then it's real. And my episode never even aired. I had to wait through the whole season to get an email, myself and like 40 something other people, saying, we really appreciate you participating in season 4. Unfortunately, only 96 episodes of like 140 that we taped will air. And unfortunately, yours isn't one of them. So not only that, we didn't even get exposure. I just literally got the experience.
So. I mean, that's crazy. So you have no idea what's going to come of that. But at the same time, you're like, all right, I gained this experience and now I can move forward. And I'd like to ask advice in that direction. What are some of those things that we're targeting the highest people? Shark Tank, you can consider those the highest investors. Maybe there's some other ones in that same caliber or higher. But what are some advice that you had from prior to that and then taking away, like, wow, I didn't recognize I needed to bring this type of A game?
I mean, I definitely brought my A game. I was overly prepared. And maybe that was the problem. Sometimes you prepare too much where at the end of the day, Shark Tank is a TV show. And the only reason I think mine didn't air was because I was maybe too on point. Like, I had watched every single episode, season 1, 2, and 3. I analyzed every deal. I had it in a spreadsheet. I knew exactly every single question they were going to ask me. I had practiced Shark Tank rounds with my investors at the time. So sometimes in life, you can prepare actually a little too much. But in some scenarios, it's really good. But for TV, you have to think about it. It's TV. So people want to be entertained. I must not have been that entertaining. So that would be one. But I think like with anything, like with getting into the vitamin shop, they chose us over some of my competitors, or pitching to Costco buyers in all their 8 regions and getting accepted in 4. It's those types of experiences come from being professionally annoying. And I talk a lot about that on my podcast, and I talk about it like on my live shows that I do too. But it's all about being professionally annoying in a way that you let people know why they need to work with you, or why they should bring on your products versus someone else's. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you're selling, people buy from people. And I think each person needs to remember that, which leads into, I think, one of your other questions, like, why'd you get into sales, or how'd I get into it? I just kind of fell into it. It's just one of those things I was really good at. It's not my, what'd you say, average quality? It's my expert quality. And I think each person, you're gifted with some sort of expertise, but we focus on all these different things. That what if you could create the life and a business on that one thing that you're an expert at? And that's what I've done now. I said, what did I do in all of those years with Fitzy Foods that I was really awesome at? And it was getting really unique deals and everything as it related to the top line revenue. Not like the online marketing and our online sales, because that was difficult and you need a shit ton of money to make anything like that go. At the end of the day, you're competing on ad space, either Google or Facebook or whatever ads, but you're buying marketing, so you have to have money to make money when it comes to online. But if you look at Costco or Vitamin Shop or the hospital you're in or any of these other unique situations, it was me. And it was a sales related activity, for be it raising money, pitching on Shark Tank. If you get your products on the shelves that are retailer, if you're selling coaching programs, if you're selling a service-based business, to get a new client is a sales related activity. So I said, well, I'm going to do that now and focus my time on what I'm really great at and not really worry about that other stuff. So that's my advice to you, is figure out what you're great at and hire other people for the rest of it. Like now with the Pitch Queen, I've got, an editor for my podcast. And one of my friends like, well, why don't you just figure it out? You'll save money. I go, I'll make way more money if I just do what I'm really, really good at. Right. And it's true. Like, I have a great assistant, Katie. She helps me with all the techie back end crap. I don't know how to do any of it, and nor do I want to. But I know that if I have a really good team, and your team is everything. I have a great writer, Jillian. I've got someone who you guys met behind the scenes on my Instagram. That was Jillian, probably talking to you at first. But we're so bonded that she can be me, literally. She knows more of me than probably half my friends know. I mean, I talk about my Thursday things on Instagram and how I love like Ziploc bags and Clorox wipes and like all these weird things, gasoline, the smell of it, so I just say, like, figure out what you're really great at, be super professionally annoying, and you'll be well on your way.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. The professionally annoying is like very, very crucial, and that's something that I really locked into. One thing I think that a lot of young entrepreneurs and, Andrew and I are even about to be going through is pitching your idea to someone else, like for the first time or the first 20 times or however many times you'll get that no, like #Big No Monday. It's your big thing.
It is. I talk about a big ass no I get every single Monday.
Awesome. That's great. I love it. So what do you, or how do you really pitch something to someone that really doesn't know anything about your product, but you are just so confident in it? Like we've been in this industry for a year and a half or whatever it is, and you've built this product from the ground up, like it's your baby. How do you convince someone that, believes in you as a person, but doesn't necessarily know that product? How do you bridge that gap? Or whatever maybe is an experience that you've had that would serve as a good example?
I mean, we can go, well, number one, you said the word convince, and you don't convince anybody of anything. So that's like, let's get that out of the way. That's like a 4-letter bad word. So you don't want to use that. And it's really about, like I said, like people buy from people. So right now I'm getting sponsorships for Success Unfiltered. So this might interest you guys. And I'm reaching out to brands and I'm not doing it the traditional way that most podcasters get sponsors for their show. I'm exploring all ways, but the way that's worked the best is me just going directly and pitching myself, which is the same way I got into Costco, Vitamin Shop, and all these other things. I didn't go the traditional route. I just found the right person, sent them an email, and then you get on the phone as quickly as possible and you build a relationship. And the number one thing you have to think about is what's in it for them. At the end of the day, why would someone even want to talk to you? So, I mean, with the Vitamin Shop, what was in it for them? They wanted to be unique and different than all the other GNCs and supplement stores in the country. They were looking for a unique angle. So how were they different than somebody else? And I brought to them the idea, well, food is actually preventative medicine and goes really well with all the other stuff you guys sell in your store, like protein powder and this and that and vitamins. But you don't actually have the first thing that people are missing the boat on as it relates to preventative medicine and health. And it was fresh food. And so I enrolled, you don't use the word convince, I enrolled a $1 billion company and an executive board to see the same thing I saw for them. I saw it for them and presented them an opportunity. Ultimately, they went like bonkers over the opportunity, and then they met me, and then they reached out to some of my competitors because they want to see, oh, well, who else, maybe should we talk to? Even though I talked to them about this idea. And at the end of the day, they saw an opportunity, and I showed that I was the person that could execute on the opportunity. Because there's a lot of people that say a lot of stuff, but no one that follows through. And I knew that my team and I could follow through. So even on the podcast for the sponsors, I know that if I talk to Calendly or some of the other, like my Sure Mic that I love, I know I can talk about it authentically in every single episode. And any of my followers or any of the downloads for every episode, if they need a mic, they're going to go and buy one. Like I know they will. But I reach out to brands that I love. And then they can see the difference, because I'm not just going to talk about, I don't know, whatever.
Omaha steaks.
Well, maybe, because that sounds actually delicious. Those people that deliver the boxes of steaks, right? Yeah, yes. I mean, I could reach out to them, but it wouldn't be like, I don't even know, something that I can't authentically speak on just to get however many hundreds of dollars per episode, just to get a sponsor for the show. Like I'm looking for the right ones. And then that's how I pitched it. And every single brand responded to me. Every single one. And it wasn't anything like super genius that I sent. But if it comes from the heart, then people will respond, because that's where they want to put their money. Right? Think about it. They are paying you money at the end of the day if that deal were to happen. If you get money from an investor for your company, they are giving you that money because of you. Again, people buy from people. So I'm like, here's all my social media. Here's my emails. Here's my website. Here's me. This is who's going to be talking about you. Why do you think whenever something happened to Tiger Woods, right? And they pulled the sponsorship immediately from them. Like if you get a bad press or you get bad press, like people want to know, like, oh, this person, yeah, she has a lot of entrepreneurs following her. Yeah, this is going to be good. They want to make an ROI on their investment. So that's one of the things that I look for, and how can I be that gap of selling more of their products for them? Because at the end of the day, that's why they're spending money. They want to increase their revenue.
That's incredible. And that's another excellent response. And something that I've kind of taken away through all of your responses is you have a true innate self-trust in your abilities. And I'm kind of curious on how you develop this trust in yourself to pretty much accomplish anything that you put your mind towards.
I mean, I've done a lot of personal development. I've done a lot of growth classes. I do a shit ton of vision boards. Like I visualized what I want to happen, and all of it's pretty much happened, and it always continues that way. Like the vision board I did about a year ago to where I got today, it all happened. The only thing that didn't happen yet was flying on a private jet, but I could have made that happen if I wanted to. Mm-hmm. I just don't want to just go buy a ticket. I just want to be invited on one. So hasn't happened yet, but it will. Okay. So
yeah, and it's definitely fair to say.
You envision it, and I interviewed Mel Robbins. It's a really good episode. If you guys, never heard her, read about her, go on YouTube and search her, whatever. But she says, like, this, I think what you're talking about is confidence. Confidence stems from action. And what I have found and what I have seen in a ton of entrepreneurs and I'm in a group of like 700 online entrepreneurs, and, a small percent, I would say, are making like great money and have like successful businesses and all this stuff. But there's a lot of this like looky-loo stuff, and, they have the shiny object syndrome and they can't stay focused. And you're always trying to compare yourself to everyone else. Like, I don't give a shit about what any other podcaster is doing. I try to learn from the best. I know what I'm good at. I don't compare. I don't sit there. That's why I hire someone to help me with social media, because I don't need to waste my time on it all day long. And the ones that I do, it's brands I'm reaching out to, and I send videos, and that's why I go on there for a purpose. I just see a lot of people wasting time, and, you can't get your time back. And I always say, like, I'm gracefully resilient, inspiring myself and others to take a stand for what you want right now, because each of you isn't guaranteed a tomorrow. And if you take that for granted every day, then that's on you. That's your problem. But I take it as like, no, I'm going to take action on this today. I'm going to make something happen. And when you keep doing that, I guess that's how you build confidence, because that's what Mel told me. So I didn't have to figure it out. That's how I learned it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And that was going to be my follow-up question, was going to be taking action. I mean, you answered it, so I don't even have to ask it, but you, every single thing you've accomplished has been, like you said, you set that vision and then boom, you're right away taking action.
Yeah.
Make sure that you want to continue to head towards that. So it's taking action with purpose.
Most people, take action with purpose. Most people are going to ask 8 million people their opinion. I don't ask for opinions unless it's someone who's way above me, who can give me more, not an opinion, but guidance. What is the saying? It's like, seek guidance, not counsel, or maybe it's reverse, but it's something along like that. Like, I'm not looking for someone to try to tell me that my idea is stupid or that it won't work. I'm looking for guidance on how can I maybe make this better? What's something maybe I'm not seeing? But again, if you're going to hang around people that are jealous of you, or you're comparing against each other, then you're going to get those types of responses. So I go to people that I believe have achieved something way beyond what I've done so far. And that's who I get guidance from.
I love that. I think what's really cool too is, you talk about every single day, or your vision board, and having all these really, like, it sounds like you have some goals set out, obviously.
Yep.
When you go to accomplish these goals, is it the process that you're focusing on, that day-to-day process, that very fine-tuned, I guess, like a process, or do you focus on the result at hand that you're trying to accomplish, and you keep referring back to that result day after day?
I think with the vision board, I haven't done a lot of science study, but one of my really good friends, Sean Croxton, does, and I just know that it works. I just don't understand how, but again, nor do I really care. It gets somewhere in the subconscious. So if I'm doing an interview, or if I'm here with you guys, there's something subconsciously that's saying, oh, well, Michelle's, one of her goals is to get all the podcast sponsorships done for Success Unfiltered, and I've written that out, and I've got it on the vision board, and I've set that out that, well, okay, well, maybe someone who's going to watch or listen to this might see it and say, hey, you know what? I want to contact her. She knows what she's talking about, or whatever. I want her to represent our brand. So I think for, each person, how you accomplish your goal is going to be different. And then, even like John Lee Dumas, you guys probably know who he is. He has like a goal book if you need help, and you can like set a goal. And he teaches you how to set a big goal in like 365 days. I don't have that problem. I set them, I hit them, and I'm on my way. But I know some people, if you shoot too high, then you can get yourself discouraged too. So I think every single person's different, but what I found that works for me is, annually I write them out, quarterly I check in, I do a vision board once or twice a year. Sometimes that needs to change, and that's what's worked for me.
Thank you. And I think one of our marketing interns have definitely taken this away, but we want to ask it anyways. You preach the real stuff. And this was in our question list, and it needs to be talked about, because that's one of your main missions, is preaching the real stuff about entrepreneurship. We're just two average guys. And I know we asked that first question, what's your average quality? Well, we're the epitome of the average quality. That's what we are. And we love doing these conversations with people such as yourself because it enhances attributes that we didn't think we were capable of, or we'll learn a life lesson that we didn't realize could be learned.
Right.
So thank you for taking time so far. And also, I'd like to ask, with the real stuff, is there something that you could provide our marketing interns with a piece of advice regarding that?
With your marketing interns?
So yeah, the marketing interns are our listeners because they.
Oh, got it. Yeah, they're in process. Got it. I was just thinking, are you talking about someone else now? You know, I always say, like, kind of like how you guys started, there's no one that has reached whatever their version of success is without like going through it. What I found is that most people don't ever talk about it. Like, I interviewed this guy today. He was the founder of iSlide. His name's Justin, and he was out there pitching in the beginning. He did Shark Tank too, but in the beginning, he went out to raise money from his first investor. And he was telling me today, you know, after that, the investor almost fell asleep in his pitch. He just kept rambling and talking, and it was horrible. And the guy said he was just terrible. It's the worst pitch he's ever heard. He was super devastated. And he said, I don't think I've ever told anyone this, Michelle, except my wife, but that investor fell asleep. And those are the things that I want to talk about. So you guys, the marketing interns, don't deal with that. Like, you don't want to have a pitch that's going on and on forever, and you're rambling and you don't have a purpose, and you literally have an investor that checks out or like does the head bob like that. That would suck. So learn from other people's mistakes. And that's really what I'm sharing. I'm trying to invite people in that want to talk the truth, because you know, this entrepreneurship and all this, it seems like it's this glorified environment. Well, that's just what you guys see, but you don't see the real shit. So that's what I talk about. And I'm okay talking about that. There were numerous times I couldn't pay payroll, or at the end we couldn't pay rent. And then I got hit by that hospital that wanted 270 grand that I didn't have, nor did we owe it. And I said, you know what? I'm done. Like, this industry, I guess, is not for me. This is, you know, people are speaking to me saying, Michelle, it's time for you to do something different. You know, our investors didn't want to fork over any more money for lawyers. So that was it. And that was the writing on the wall. But most people would just talk about that one-on-one. Or you'll talk about it in a mastermind group, or you'll talk about it with your entrepreneur buddy that's also been through it. But you guys won't talk about it publicly. Or like, I haven't watched it yet, but someone told me Elon Musk did an interview and started crying the other day. I need to watch that. Like, that's awesome. Okay, so you guys can see that he's actually a real person. And it's not as glorified as you think it is. So, you know, most entrepreneurs, and I'm sure you've heard this before, will work 80 hours a week to not have to work 40 hours a week for someone else at a job, which is probably what you guys are doing, trying to figure this out so you can go quit your 9-to-5s, because you rather work 80 hours a week to have the freedom and flexibility than to be stuck in the jobs that you're at because you're not super passionate about it.
I love it. I mean, it's speaking to us right to the heart. You're just the Cupid's arrow going right through the back pocket up here. But I just love you know what you're putting out there. I mean, you learn so much from people when they are just vulnerable like that. And I think what the internet does nowadays with social media and everything is there's two sides to the coin, in my opinion. There's the side that promotes the good, or, you know, maybe not necessarily the truth. But then if you really dive into it, there's all kinds of people like the Gary V's and all these different people that are just giving you what it is, you know? And I think that's really where Andrew and I stand is, you know what? That if someone wanted to figure out who Michelle Weinstein is, they can Google you and really figure out like how you messed up or what you said at certain points in your life. So what we're doing is we're just attacking that full on and just saying, hey, this is us. This is the back pocket, whether you like it or not. You can go back, you can listen to us now. And you're probably like, wow, these guys got a pretty sweet podcast. Like, they sound professional. Their audio's sweet. But go back to podcast 1. We didn't delete the first podcast we ever recorded. It's garbage, or it's garbage to us. We just have seen the growth. But if you were to go back and listen, be like, oh my gosh, these guys are a bunch of goofballs, you know. So I just love the reality. I love pushing that
Yeah,
message, that authenticity, because at the end of the day, that's really all you have to hold on to. So
yeah,
thank you very
it
much.
is.
I love that. Transitioning here a little bit, we're talking about failure. We're talking about the reality. When things like, not necessarily that this didn't happen to you, but when you experience, that investor falling asleep, or when you experience something that really puts you in a high stress situation, what is in your back pocket and that's something you rely on mentally to respond to these situations that are very tough.
Yeah, you need to put in your back pocket calm. So, if you meditate or, I have calm meditation music, chill music, take a walk, take a breather, get out, change your body language. That usually helps. But yeah, you have to stay calm because the second you're not, it's going to really get messed up.
Yeah, being
So
calm goes a
it
long way.
takes practice. It
Mhm.
takes practice.
It's definitely when
I say, like, learn how to get a poker face all the time.
learning how to get a poker face, learning how to realize that the stress that you are putting on yourself may just be pressure, and those can be completely two different things to your body. And then you
Yeah.
have the ability to respond accordingly in a very functional manner versus being rash or brash and not having the fortitude that you really wanted to have prior to that engagement. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And I know we're hitting towards the back end of the interview, so we'll finish with these two questions. The first question puts
Okay.
the ball in your court, and we would like to ask you if you have any questions for us.
um, what's what do you want people to get out of listening from today?
I personally want people to hear your story and realize that you have gone through the ringer and continue to go through similar situations. It's not happy-go-lucky every single, even though you have had these type of accomplishments that we were able to share in this 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And the mental state that you continue to strive, that taking action is something that we struggle with on a day-to-day basis because this is not a full-time job. So we're like, okay, how can we utilize and optimize the time that we have right now to take action? But there always can be more efficiency to everything. And hearing how you've gone about it, it's just another way that we can learn and grow. And that's like you've mentioned, at the end of the day, what are you going to look back and reflect on and accomplished in your 24-hour span and of that day? If you have learned and listened and trying to grow, then that's what you need to accomplish.
Cool.
I would say, you can present yourself however you want, but when adversity hits, who you are is what you are in the face of that adversity. And I think, having these kind of
Mm-hmm.
conversations for this 30 minutes has, it really tries to bring that out, and people can really understand, who's behind the pitch queen, and I think that's
Mm-hmm.
very important. And I think if anybody's going to learn anything, it's, with confidence in the face of adversity. And I think you experience that all the time. And you've had these trials and tribulations, these strikes and gutters throughout your entire career. And at this point, you're looking for the next one because you know exactly how to handle it and you know you're going to crush it. So I love it.
Awesome. That's my only question.
Okay. And then our final question is, what did you learn today? So this is a frame from the time you woke up to the conversation until the conversation we're having right now.
I learned today that I really need to get good at taking naps. So I was texting with a friend. I think I'm going to spend a little bit more time doing my meditation. I'm also learning Spanish, so maybe if I do some Spanish homework and then I can fall asleep a little bit sooner. So that is what I learned today, is that I just need to become a better napper.
That's excellent.
May I ask why you're learning Spanish?
I've always wanted to learn Spanish. And when you're super stressed out, like how I was with Fitzy Foods, I wish I knew Spanish then because my whole kitchen was Spanish speaking. And that's why I wanted to learn. And my head manager, Nick, I love Nick. And my goal is to eventually do a full interview on Success Unfiltered in Spanish. So I will be fluent It's a matter of time. It's kind of hard to learn when you're kind of older. But so far so good. I just got back from Tulum the other day and I spoke Spanish almost the whole time I was there. So I just need to work on my vocabulary now.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to dive right into it. Well, thank you, Michelle, for joining us on the Back Pocket. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Michelle, for joining us. That was a fun interview. I really do appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We'll have her on again, dude.
That question she asked us was really helpful and reflecting as well. Yeah. And I hope you marketing interns really were able to take your golden nugget and implement it into your daily life.
And let us know too, because we're starting to do these takeaways. So we want to, reinforce or promote some of the things that we took away from this podcast, because we go back and listen to every single podcast, and it always sounds different the second time you listen to it. You pick up on different things, and we're always just looking for your guys' feedback. And we post on Instagram stories the day after, so Tuesday, we'll post any takeaways that you guys have for us. And it's an opportunity for you guys to submit a takeaway that you guys had. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say about that podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you, Declan. Should we go to the back end?
Dude, of course.
Absolutely. The back end, where the marketing interns can truly vibe out to what the Back Pocket presents.
Yeah, this is like this is how I describe it. So you're on vacation, and you have your excursion that your mom planned at like 9:30, and you go on it.
It's early.
It's early. Of course it's early. You got to take advantage of a full day of vacation, right?
Of course.
So you go, jet skiing, you go hiking, something with the family. It's fun. It's just a lot of work, right? You got to get up at 8. You got to deal with everything. You got to make breakfast. You go through all the process, and you have a blast during it. You're on vacation again. But you know what? You come back, after you eat lunch, your mom didn't plan anything for 1:30, so it's just your time to shine, right? And you just get to relax and enjoy and soak in everything. And that's kind of what the back end is to me.
You put in that work. You spent that hour with us. And now you're on the back end. You're relaxing and you just have to listen. There's really no more work to be done. It's just vibe out and truly appreciate how the Back Pocket finishes.
Absolutely. So kick your feet up. Get comfortable. Not too comfortable if you're driving, but comfortable nonetheless. And enjoy it, man. Thank you for being here. You guys are a tier above the rest. What did you learn, Andrew?
The first segment of What Did You Learn? From the time that I woke up to right now, I was reflecting on last night. And
let's go into that a little bit.
Yeah. What we did last night was we had a dinner meeting with Giselle Ugarte and Nick, stationary astronaut. And
Nick, the stationary astronaut. That's what these hats are right here. He's a company. He put on the Gary Vee event. He's a great friend of the podcast now. He hosted the Gary Vee event in Rochester that I went to and talked about in detail on a couple podcasts ago. Great guy. So it was the four of us enjoying, what was the place called?
The Lotus. And just phenomenal place. Vietnamese food, great food. Plenty of leftovers that we failed to bring home because we just left them on the table. But what I learned is dinner meetings, yeah, it's business. Like, you're here to talk about like what you guys are up to and maybe something that we can do together in the future or something along those lines. But what it really is 4 people in this instance truly appreciating the time. Like, you're locked in because, one, you want to have great manners, so you're listening because you think it's business, but it's truly casual. And you're just there, like, understanding what someone does off air, because that's kind of where we get the most of our relationships is on a podcast, and then having the opportunity to kind of take that a step forward. And we've been doing this with other people as well. But this one in particular, doing it over dinner, it truly felt like it was remarkable. I loved it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's more of like a shared passion too.
Sure.
Because Giselle's passionate about, on her radio show, and she's got a bunch of social following.
She's so savvy with like social media. Yeah. She's so savvy.
So savvy.
In a business sense.
Right. Mm-hmm. But she loves doing it, and you can tell that by the way she talks and the way she presents herself. And then you got Nick, who is putting on these live events with like major names. He's just a total go-getter, and
He's a wild man.
he's
but
a wild man
with organization,
Yeah.
which is sweet to follow.
Yeah, he's just got all kinds of energy, dude. It's like one of those Mio squirt bottles. Like, you don't squirt all the Mio in your mouth. Absolutely not, because you'll be overloaded with energy. But, you know, you get a little squirt here, a little squirt there, you're feeling good.
Absolutely.
Anyways.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, I'm crushing analogies on this podcast, I think. But anyways, like, he's passionate about what he's got going on. Giselle's got this. We got the back pocket, and we're just having a conversation, right? It's nothing special. I mean, it is special to us, but it wasn't anything crazy. But it was just like everyone was just fueling.
You're sharing a meal, and you're sharing each other's company.
Yeah,
And at the same time, you're talking about future, and you're talking about what you've been doing, and you're talking about something that you care about.
something that makes you smile, something that makes you laugh, dude.
That's all I need.
Yeah,
That's all I need, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
absolutely. And I can totally echo that. That is all. I'm fulfilled when that stuff happens, and I always think, I'm like, man, this is because of the podcast. Like, this is our life now, man. Like, this is fun. This is when I have the best time. You know, it's not about making money, or, well, maybe it is, but it's not about all of that. It's about those like conversations, being in the moment.
At the surface, that's what it is.
Yeah,
And it's so funny. Like, all those people, like, the first question you hear is like, oh, how are you making money? And that's, well, sure. Well, I don't even want to get into it right now, but
Yeah.
I'm just going to say,
sound off, bro. Keep it going.
it's not the goal. If that's your goal, you're wrong. And if that's your question you're asking to me, I'll answer it, and I'll be genuine about my answer, and I'm proud of it. Yeah, we haven't made a dime in the sense of the podcast with sponsorships. But the knowledge and the interpersonal skills that have continued to move forward in a way of just, I need to always take action and find that next way, that next step with someone like you, Declan. It's been extraordinary.
Absolutely, dude. We have not only changed our perception, but we've changed our habits. I can, in a year's worth of time, if I think back to where I was, it's like, man, I'm a totally different human being, dude. Totally different
human being.
It's nuts, dude. It's fun, and it just shows the growth. It's fun to reflect, but my habits, it's all about the habits. Nothing on the outside, just the habits. But anyways, what I learned. Did you already say what you learned?
Dinner meetings,
Yeah,
man.
that
I
was
love dinner meetings.
That's
now.
right. Okay.
That's my thing.
Dude, I got a sweet one today.
Hey, Declan. What did you learn today?
Thanks for asking, Andy. Well, there's a lot of things that I learned because I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast with Neil deGrasse Tyson, the 3-hour and 30-minute giant. I got about an hour in, and there's all
Talk about information. Neil is delivering constantly. He is drawing from so many pools. When you have a conversation with that man, your head is spinning because, one, he does a great job of articulating, so you're able to follow it all, but he's pulling like history lessons from bam, 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 and you're like, I cannot believe that's like, and I believe it all. I think he's got his facts down to a T.
I don't question it because I know how diligent and how passionate he is about finding the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we can
Sorry,
talk
go
about,
ahead.
Dude, we can talk about how the Jesuits founded the Gregorian calendar, which is like the calendar that we use today.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, you guys just need to go listen to that podcast. We love Joe Rogan. What I learned though, I was scrolling through Instagram today, and I saw this like weird cheesy video, and I brought it up, and you were like, "Oh yeah, I saw that too." Mm-hmm. And it was this teacher, and he holds up this $20 bill to the students, and he says, "If I were to, like, do you guys want this? Like, is this worth something to you?" And they all raise their hand, like, "Yeah, it's $20. I'd take $20. I'm a poor college student." Mm-hmm. Then he crumples it up, and he opens it back up, and he goes, "Do you guys still want this?" He crumbles it back up, and he opens it up. He says, "Do you guys still want this?" And everyone raises their hand. I'm like, yeah, it's a crumple up $20 bill. Of course I still want it. Throws it on the ground, steps on it, really rubs it into the dirt, picks it back up. "Do you guys still want this?" Everyone, of course, raises their hand again. His point was, doesn't matter how many times you get beat up, doesn't matter how many things happen in your life, you're still worth something. At the end of the day, no matter what. And I was like, dang, that was a sweet, like, speaking of analogies, That was powerful.
Mm-hmm.
That was powerful.
That sits home. I mean, it's like, it's $20 and you still want it, but it's been kicked in the dirt.
It's been kicked betwixt the legs. It's been kicked in the shins. It's been crumpled up. It's been beaten, and you still want it. If I could provide that value, no matter how many mistakes I make, I'm in, dude.
Love it.
Sign me up.
Love it.
All right, dude.
Those were some deep. What did you learn?
Yeah, wow, we are learning, but we could
are learning.
but just to clarify, we could have dropped some Neil deGrasse truths out there for sure.
We had some dinner party knowledge ready for you, and that'll be tuned. Stay tuned in. Neil deGrasse Tyson will be a "What did you learn?" coming forward.
Yeah, we can't take that away from him.
But trapping the puck and transitioning to a feel-good story.
The final segment.
The final segment where we make our marketing and we leave our marketing interns on a very happy note and a positive note, because at the end of the day, we're a positive podcast promoting that very thing. Declan, what's the feel-good story of the week?
So, this was right.
Excuse you.
Yeah, sorry, I burped. Too bad we don't have the the sneeze button. Have you seen those at radio shows?
The one that he says, that was easy.
Close. You just hit it and it mutes your mic, pretty much is all it is. But anyways, the feel-good story this week is the American dream. You know, people reinforce this American dream all the time. And when we were talking to Phil Zhao, homie, you guys have heard about this guy all the time. And we were telling him about how we started a company. And he was like, honestly, dude, nowadays, the American dream is the ease of starting your own business and following what you want to do in the United States. And I couldn't agree anymore. You can go and Google right now how to start a company. Click on LegalZoom.com. It's not an ad, but it's an easy way to start your company. And then a month later, because you started it and you pay your filing fee, you will have a company that's under your name, and you can provide to this country, to this economy, and to yourself. And it's everything that you want to do. That is the new version of the American dream.
And it's possible. Granted,
It's practical.
it's difficult with some people's history, how they've been raised, financially, ethically, whatever it is. But that's the American dream through and through, because everyone can do it. And with the ability to utilize social media now, that's something everyone has access to, I believe. I mean,
And everyone's on it.
and everyone's on it. So you can find a way to promote yourself, whether you're that yodeling guy who's made it, or you're someone who's trying to do something with photography.
Or you're someone who's just trying to sell Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or like Legos. If you're super passionate about Legos, you can make it in this world.
You can sell it.
It's not hard. Because you care about it, you're going to do it, and you're going to know it better than anybody else because you love it. And I think that is the American dream. There's so many people out here that are starting to figure that out. You know, there's all kinds of people out there starting to really grasp that idea, and millions of people are starting their own business.
Love it, man.
It's awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, marketing interns,
Absolutely.
for joining us in this journey of reflection. That's what this podcast truly was through and through. It was a lot of reflection, a lot of reevaluating our mental fortitude, because Michelle Weinstein presented us the opportunity to go back and think about these type of things. So thank you, Michelle.
And that's the name of our podcast. The last minute of our show, we decided what it is. The journey of reflection. Thank you. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Take care.